Congratulations! Seymour Community School Corporation is excited to have you aboard as an English Learner Instructional Assistant. Welcome to the world of English language development. Seymour Community School Corporation has a diverse student population. We have many students whose first language is something other than English. We are required to provide English language acquisition services to students who are not yet proficient in the English language. We provide English language services through a variety of methods, including help in and out of the classroom. Classroom teachers, English language development teachers, and instructional assistants all work together to help students move towards English language proficiency. Let's talk about how an English language learner is identified. Identifying an English learner is a two-part process that consists of a form called the Home Language Survey and a placement test. Identifying an English language learner starts upon their initial enrollment in an Indiana school. Parents are given a form called a Home Language Survey. The Home Language Survey has 3 questions. The first question, what is the native language of the student? The second question, what language is spoken most often by the student? And the third question, what language is spoken by the student in the home? If an answer to anything other than English is indicated, then the EL teacher knows that the language proficiency placement test must be given to the student. Any student who scores a level 1 through 4 on the assessment is considered limited English proficient and qualifies for English language acquisition services. When the identification process is complete and a student is identified as an English language learner, the EL teacher works to complete an individualized learning plan, which we refer to as an ILP. All teachers who have the student in their class are required to implement and follow the ILP. The ILP has classroom strategies and testing accommodations listed, which aid the student in English language acquisition, as well as goals for English progression. In 2014, Indiana adopted the WIDA framework to help English learners succeed in an academic setting. The WIDA framework consists of English language development standards, can-do descriptors for each level of English language acquisition, as well as the language placement test and the annual language assessment. Each area of language acquisition is addressed in the WIDA framework. Listening, speaking, reading, and writing are all integral parts of language acquisition. Seymour Community School Corporation has embraced the WIDA can-do philosophy. Listen to this statement from WIDA about their can-do philosophy. At WIDA, we believe that everyone brings valuable resources to the education community. Linguistically and culturally diverse learners, in particular, bring a unique set of assets that have the potential to enrich the experiences of all learners and educators. As these young children and students learn additional languages, educators can draw on these assets for the benefit of both the learners themselves and for everyone in the community. By focusing on what language learners can do, we send a powerful message that students have diverse linguistic, cultural, and experiential backgrounds contributing to the vibrancy of our early childhood programs and K-12 schools. The efforts of every stakeholder in the school community, from home care providers to superintendents, can enhance the education of language learners. The more we know about their cultural backgrounds, home environments, and formative experiences, and the positive contributions these experiences afford our school communities, the more effective standards-based instruction will be. We believe practitioners and educators have the power to recognize and unleash the potential that language learners bring to their learning communities. Everything WIDA does is supported by the can-do philosophy. Our work begins with articulating examples of language learners' assets and continues with how we support education systems, how we design our products, and how we conduct our research. WIDA supports education systems where the can-do philosophy empowers linguistically diverse students and their peers, It empowers their families. It empowers communities. It empowers educators, administrators, and it empowers researchers and policymakers. At Seymour Community Schools, I truly believe we embrace the can-do philosophy for all language learners, and I know you will be a positive role model and have a positive impact on student instruction. The WIDA can-do descriptors describe activities a student should be able to perform at each level of English language proficiency. English language proficiency levels range from level 1 up to level 6. A level 1 student is usually new to the United States and has little to no experience with the English language. When a student reaches level 5, they are considered a fluent English speaker. As you can see on the chart, the language proficiency levels extend to level 6, which would indicate the student has reached a level of English proficiency equivalent to native English speakers for their age. In the next slides, we will briefly explore the areas of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. After the video, you will be able to download a copy to view as part of the training. The can-do descriptors are also available from the EL teacher in each building. I highly recommend you obtain a copy and familiarize yourself with these important documents. As you can see on this slide, a level 1 student can do modeled one-step directions, mimic gestures, identify pictures of everyday objects. As their level of English proficiency increases, their ability to understand oral English and listen increases. When they reach level 5, the student can fluently listen to English. The WIDA can-do descriptors for speaking start with simple words or phrases in level 1 and continue to increase in difficulty. By the time they reach level 5, the student can fluently speak in English. The WIDA can-do descriptors for reading begin with identifying symbols and environmental print and increase in difficulty until the student reaches reading fluency in English. The WIDA can-do descriptors for writing begin with copying written language or communicating with drawings. And as the student works towards fluency in written English, they are able to write stories and explain processes. You will be able to view these documents in full after the video. The responsibility of the English Learner Instructional Assistant is to provide support to the classroom teacher or the English language development teacher. Working to provide instruction to individual students or small groups of students is your primary responsibility. English Learner Instructional Assistants can provide instructional support to the teacher by working with individual students or small groups of students. An English Learner Instructional Assistant can provide further reinforcement of skills as prescribed by the teacher, help students complete lessons delivered by the teacher, or assist within the classroom while the teacher meets with small groups of students. As you begin your work in the classroom, it is important to remember that Seymour Community School Corporation believes that effective instructional assistants are an integral part of our school community. Effective instructional assistants help foster participation of pupils in the social and academic processes of school, seek to enable students to become more independent learners, and help to raise standards of learning for all students. While working as an English Learner Instructional Assistant, you should always be working under the direct supervision of and in close and frequent proximity to a certified teacher. Instructional assistants at Seymour Community Schools are a vital part of the learning process for students. Therefore, instructional assistants' time should be spent working with students. Instructional assistants should avoid making copies, classroom decorating, grading papers, and other tasks that do not involve direct instruction of students. Let's talk about some of the acronyms you might encounter while working with English learners. ESL means English as a Second Language, ELL means English Language Learner, and EL means English Learner. ESL, ELL, and EL are often used interchangeably to refer to students who are learning English. In Seymour, we generally refer to our English learners as EL students. Another set of acronyms commonly used when referring to English language acquisition refer to our English development framework. The WIDA framework is a set of English language development standards that we use here in Seymour, as well as across the state of Indiana, to help English language learners develop English skills. Another term you might see is WIDA Access. Each year, our English learners are required to participate in a language proficiency assessment. This is given generally in late January or February. Another term that you might hear is ILP, which stands for Individualized Learning Plan. Each student who is an English learner has an individualized learning plan that outlines instructional strategies and accommodations that the student can use in the classroom and on state accountability assessments. Another term you might hear refers to English proficiency levels. Level 1 through 4 students are considered English language learners and receive support in the educational setting. As students gain proficiency in English and move through the levels, they are considered fluent English practitioners when they reach level 5 and are then no longer considered an English language learner. Appropriate dress. You are a professional charged with one of the most important jobs, helping children learn. In most schools, dress is professional casual, meaning dress slacks and a nice shirt and shoes are acceptable. But keep in mind, mobility is important when working with students. For example, you will want to make sure your shirt does not gape open when you bend over, or if you wear a skirt, that it is appropriately long when you sit on the floor. Also, please be mindful of graphics on your clothing. Inappropriate or vulgar terms, pictures, or words are not permitted. You will want to check with your building principal on any specific dress requirements at your school. There will be days where school spirit wear and blue jeans are permitted. And please remember, you are a reflection of the school you represent, as well as the entire corporation, so please dress accordingly. Confidentiality. Every student has the right to confidentiality. As a school employee, you are bound to confidentiality regarding students. Please keep in mind, it is never okay to discuss students with anyone except their custodial parent or custodial guardian, and this should generally be handled by the classroom teacher. Even among coworkers, confidentiality can be broken. Discussion about specific students in the lunchroom, passing in the hallway, should be avoided. Also to be avoided are the conversations about a student when you run into a family member while out and about in the community. You may know a student's grandparent who attends your church. Sharing information about the student to the grandmother is not appropriate. Although the grandmother surely has interest in the child, the only person entitled to information is the custodial parent or custodial guardian. If you have questions about confidentiality, please talk with your building principals. As a general rule, do not share information with anyone that is disclosed to you for instructional purposes. Do not share what children tell you unless the safety of the child is in question. If you have concerns regarding a child's safety, you are legally bound to report the concern immediately. Social media. Social media, such as Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, MySpace, can be a great thing when used appropriately. Here are some pitfalls to avoid when using social media. Never post pictures of a student on your personal social media accounts. Student confidentiality is broken when you post pictures of them on social media. Most parents, but not all, give permission to use images for educational purposes, but personal accounts are not for educational purposes. Most schools have some form of social media they use to promote the school. Although most teachers will take care of this, if there is an activity coming up that you want to promote, talk to the building principal about who manages the school media account and who to send the pictures to. Also keep in mind, personal social media accounts are seen by people all over the community. It is no secret that school employees are held to a higher standard than the community at large. Be mindful about what you post, comments you make, and pictures you post. Even off the clock, you still represent your school building and district.